know, you get that like vibe where they're like telling you like thank you and like, stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, here we go.
Did I just hear you say mommy? Like,
she is here. You know? Welcome back to Beyond the Bedroom. And everybody say in unison, thank you, Mistress Lauren, for being here today. Today, I have a very special guest on for my first video podcast. Of course, we have Mistress Lauren. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm happy to be here and very honored to be the first video podcast.
Of course. So you could probably guess from the name, but Mistress Lauren is a pro dom and a sex coach and a new friend of mine. And
Yes.
I feel like we're getting along very well.
I know, it's been so exciting.
Right? We met just kind of on TikTok, basically, and I slid into your DMs.
You did.
I did.
You
I
did.
was
And
like,
you were
"What's
the
up?"
first person that I had met off of social media like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Look at us. Look at us. So many firsts
I know,
today.
it was a good first. And now I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe you should be more like careful meeting people off of social
Right.
media, but we had such a good experience
of
now
course.
it's like, okay,
Yeah,
who's
kids,
next?
don't try this at home. But yeah, so for those of you who might be new to the podcast, Beyond the Bedroom is my little passion project. I'm a sex educator. I have a degree in public health. Also, for audio listeners, if you're not watching this on YouTube, what are you doing? Hello. But
We're so pretty.
yeah, get over here. What are you doing? Oh my goodness. Honestly, it's disrespectful to not watch us. on
Agreed.
YouTube. I found Lauren on TikTok because you make a lot of content about how to dominate people, basically.
I do.
And like you talk about all kinds of stuff from like what you do in a session to kind of just like your day as a pro dom. But what does a pro dom do for those people who might not know? What is the service you offer to people?
It looks different for everyone who is a pro dom, so I definitely can't speak to everyone. But what I do is I mostly do in-person sessions that have a time constraint, so usually an hour. And my clients come to me with a certain kink or a list of kinks that they want to live out. And then my job is basically to bring that to life for them.
So do you do a lot of like anticipating people's needs, or do people have to like communicate really directly? Like, I want, like, how specific does it get?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it varies based on the person. So I work at a dungeon.
Yeah.
And it's different than when you do this independently, because then there's, I think, more communication between you and your client beforehand.
Right.
But working at a dungeon, it's more fast-paced and there's less information about the client and their kinks beforehand. Like, I don't have direct communication with my clients.
Right.
Because it goes through basically a third party.
Yeah.
So
you have a little domination secretary working for you.
So all I know about my client beforehand is their name and a list of kinks, and that's whatever they provided.
Okay.
But then when I meet them, we chit chat a little bit, and I give them an opportunity to communicate more if they want to. Some of them will get super specific. They're like, this is the role play I want to do in this very specific scenario. And other ones are like, yeah, I'm into feet. Let's get into it. You know? So there's a mix of anticipating and kind of guessing what they're into, trial and error. And others are very straightforward about it.
Let's say someone comes to you and is like, I'm into feet, let's get into it. So like, where do you go from there? Like in a session, you just show up barefoot? Like what, take me through like what is it that you suspect people are looking for if they were to message you that?
Now that I've been doing this for almost 2 years, I know a bit more what to expect when someone says a certain kink.
Okay.
But it still varies based on the person, even with feet. Like, people like feet so broadly.
Oh, yeah.
So usually they like your feet to be dirty.
Okay.
which I didn't know. Like when I first started, I remember I had a client come in and I'm like in the sink shaving my toes and like washing my feet because I'm like, I know he's going to be sucking on them. And then I said that to him when he was there. I was like, yeah, I washed my feet for you. And he's like, why would you do that?
It's like, great.
I wanted them dirty.
Now you ruined it. I only wanted dirty feet.
So sometimes clients will still like your feet to be clean, but 90% of the time they want them to be stinky and smelly and dirty. So like I've learned that.
Because they're looking more for like submission, like submitting to dirty feet or like worshiping. Like worship is something I think people forget about in terms of like what that relationship is and like domination and submission. A lot of the time people are going to a dungeon not necessarily to be like beaten up, but to be able to have a space to like worship somebody. A lot of the time it's like to worship a woman, specifically like a younger woman too. Like a lot of them also, I feel like they want that dynamic too of someone who traditionally in our society would be below them in terms of like social power, and they need to flip the script on that.
Yes.
Right? How does worship fit into what you do?
I think a big part of it is what you said. They're coming to submit to a woman. And it's not necessarily that we're beating them up or we're doing anything very intense like what you would think of when you'd see a dominatrix in the media. It is more like an opportunity for them to serve us, and they want to make us feel good and please us. So a lot of people with the feet, they want to rub my feet, give me a foot massage, make me feel good. And then as they make me feel good, like I usually have them start by rubbing my feet. And then if they're doing a good job, they get more privileges.
Right.
Because what they really want, they want to smell them. They want to kiss them. They want to suck on them. So it's like you worship me to get a reward.
Right.
And then the reward is, you know, you sucking on them.
Get a little treat.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone likes a little treat.
Yeah.
Like whenever I ask like, oh, like what questions would you have for a pro dom to my audience? A lot of people want to know like how much sex is involved and how much violence is involved. And I'm always like, okay, let's flip the script on that a little bit and explain a little more why those things are not necessarily even a part of being a pro dom all the time. Like sex and violence are not necessarily what people are seeking, which is very confusing to people because the vision of the dominatrix, like even that, like we've kind of moved away from using that word a lot of the time. Like I feel like people are more into saying pro dom or doming, or so even that, like the idea of like a vixen in a leather corset, like beating someone. It's like that's one part of it, and that is a legit part of doming people. But it's like that's like a little like glimpse into like this huge umbrella that is doming.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So like when people are asking me like how much sex is involved, how much violence is involved, sometimes I feel like it's not enough to be like, well, it's like really individual, because I think most people that are seeking this out like aren't seeking to penetrate anybody in there.
Yeah.
Like it's probably more rare that someone's like, I want to be like beat up to the point where I can't walk. Why do you think it is that like people have this vision, and why is what you do like actually so different from what people expect you do?
Yeah. I think it's different because people expect this job to be predominantly physical, but it's predominantly mental.
Just like sex in general,
Yeah.
right? Like we're always talking about this. It's like it's the mental part, you know?
It's so much more about like humiliation, degradation, dirty talk, role play. Like it's so much more about what you're saying, what you're not saying, and like just the mentality of it than it is about physically sex or violence.
Right.
It is sexual.
Yeah.
But it's also not in a way, because there's, you know, no hand jobs, blow jobs, foot jobs, no jobs of any kind, no penetration. So that's off the table.
Right.
And the people who come see us, they know that. And that's why they're there, honestly, because they don't want that.
Yeah.
Like it's different than having sex in a quote unquote conventional way.
I think people don't always realize like what they're doing in their own sex life like has a dom sub dynamic of some sort. I taught this dirty talk workshop like a couple years ago. And people were telling me like, yeah, like I really like a call and response where it's like, yeah, you like that. You want more of that. And I'm like, that's doming. That's like soft doming. You know what I mean?
Is.
Or like you want me to let you, like stuff like that. And people play with this dynamic like a lot more, I think, than they realize. And it's like, well, that's not that far removed from like what you do. You know, it's like you just do it in a more upfront, like this is what we're doing right now type thing. I feel like a lot of people are afraid to like admit that they have this dynamic, especially women. Like they are afraid to be like, yeah, like I'm doming my boyfriend.
I mean, women, but it's mostly the men.
Yeah.
That are afraid to be submissive to their girlfriend. That's why they come see us.
That's true. That's really
Sometimes people like the fact that they don't know the dom and that it's not personal. And sometimes people also like to pay. They like the financial aspect of it. And that's why they're seeing a dom. But the majority of the time, they could be doing exactly what they're doing with me, with their girlfriend, with their partner, with someone that they're not paying, but they're afraid to be submissive with that person and to, communicate that to them.
It kind of reminds me of like, sometimes it is easier for me to teach in front or like lecture in front of like 500 people than it is to like open up about like, this is what I'm about to teach to like a really close friend where it's just so like vulnerable and like you're like, because I don't care, like those 500 people, they almost become anonymous to me because I'm like, I can't look all of them in the eye. But it's like with someone super close to me, I'm like, I actually value your opinion and I'm afraid you'll judge me.
Yes.
And I think like the more we talk about these dynamics and stuff, the more people will be like, oh, I don't know, most of what we do, whether it's doming, sex coaching, sex educating, is like giving people permission.
Yes.
Do you feel like that comes up a lot in your work where it's like someone's requesting something that's not even that out there and you're like, oh, I'm just like giving you permission to feel good about this, about yourself. Does that happen?
Absolutely. I think a big part of my job is, I mean, you're teetering two lines because on one hand, you're humiliating these people and you're degrading them for the things that they like because that's the turn on. But then also you're giving them permission and you're allowing them to enjoy it. It's a turn on. Shame is part of the turn on for them. So it's a fine line where I am giving them permission to enjoy the things that they enjoy, but I'm also like making fun of them for it.
Right, right. And is there like a big adrenaline rush for people to feel the shame? Do you think like is almost exhilarating for someone to call out like what their personal thoughts are? Or do you think it's more like feeling bad feels so good? You know what I mean?
Ooh, a mix of both. Yeah.
I'm wondering like if you experience that with clients where like they will reach out and show regret or they'll reach out and be like, I feel really weird now. Like, do you see sub drop like happening in that way, or does that not happen as much as people might assume?
Working at a dungeon, again, we don't have that open line of communication with the clients. So I'll see them experience sub drop and, you know, do a little bit of aftercare right in that session as we're wrapping up. But once they're out the door, I'm not getting reached out to about it.
Right.
I also do like independent sessions and I do doming work online so that there's more like open communication with the clients after the session.
Right.
So sometimes I'll get it expressed to me. Everyone is different. Like some people don't feel bad about it afterwards. Some people feel fucking great. Like
I wish more people knew about that, because I think a lot of the time like it's like, oh, like what if I go and then like I feel really bad about myself after, and I'm like, well then you deal with that. But like most people feel amazing. It's something that you've been fantasizing about, something you've been wanting for so long. So I'm like, I'm happy that we're clearing up that, because I got a lot of questions about like what happens after, like do people feel bad? And I'm like, a lot of people feel amazing. They come back again and again.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a mix of emotions, and I feel like it happens over a period of time, especially if they're allowed to like jerk off and finish. So if they do that, then there's like post-nut clarity and you know, your refractory period that they're going through. Even if they express some negative emotion or guilt or whatever, they often come back.
I'm an affiliate with Wisp, a trusted online pharmacy making women's healthcare more accessible. They offer birth control, UTI treatments, and wellness products you can shop, like pads, lube, and even toy cleaner, all shipped directly and discreetly to your door. Use my code BBIRNA or link in my description to get 15% off your first order. I recommend the Better Sex line. That's BBIRNA at HelloWisp.com.
Okay, I have a theory about post-nut clarity.
Yeah.
Do you want to know? So when people talk about post-nut clarity in terms of like, I slept with a guy and then like right after he just like acted not interested in me, like that type, not the like just kind of like refractory, like I need a second. A lot of the time I find that people will project shame that they're feeling like sexually onto their partner for being like, well, you're the slut because you did this with me, or like, I also hear this a lot where it's like, I liked her up until we had sex and like now I don't respect her. And I'm just like, holy shit, that's crazy. That's a you problem, first of all.
Yeah.
But because you're on TikTok and like there's a lot of younger people on TikTok and it's just something I see on there like all the time. It's having such an effect on like young people. Like they're like, I don't want to hook up with anyone. Like I don't want to because he's not going to like me after we have sex.
Yeah.
Do you see younger guys have that more than older guys? Do you think it's like an experience thing? Is it something you're not seeing?
I definitely don't see that in my job.
That's good.
Because we're not really, I mean, I'm not having sex with them, so it's not happening with me. And the most that I'll see that is they'll say, oh, I'm coming to you because I can't do this with my partner.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like that they feel that they won't respect her if she pegs them or stomps on them or spits on them or whatever. I think it's more they fear that she won't respect them anymore.
Yeah. I think that that's the projection that's happening sometimes where people are like ashamed of themselves for doing something sexual and they're like, no, it's like, it's your fault. Because like, do you know what I'm saying? They're feeling bad and they don't know what to do with those feelings. But also, it's like on the other end of it, it's like you can have different people in your life for different needs. Like if you're in a relationship and you don't want to be in a kink dynamic with your partner, you can get that, you know, consensually, of course, like somewhere else. Like I personally don't see a problem with that when it's done with boundaries and consent and open communication. So it's like there's two sides of that spectrum, right? Where it's like both things can kind of be true at the same time.
Yeah.
But I think the people that are talking about like post-nut clarity in terms of like, oh, like I realized I don't like her after I fucked her because like I can't respect a girl that took back shots. Yeah. I'm just like, oh, you're so far away from like the other side of that.
I hate that. I've definitely seen that in my personal life and heard people talk about it.
Right.
My thing is I don't want to date someone or be with someone who won't respect me if I sleep with them.
Yeah, that's
because
a huge
it
thing.
takes two to tango. Like they did it too.
Exactly.
And it's a double standard. So
how much of your quote unquote persona in the dungeon is like an alter ego? Like, do you feel like you're bringing yourself, or do you feel like you kind of have to do like a Sasha Fierce moment where you're like, I got to put on something else, I have to become someone else? And also like how much of that persona like shows up in your personal life?
It is different. Like obviously I'm the same person, but I do feel that I'm playing a role. It's like a hyper-sexual, hyper obviously dominant version of myself.
Okay.
So I brought friends to my sessions to double dom with me.
Right.
And they have said like they don't really see too much of a difference, but I feel a difference. Like I'm definitely more direct and straightforward and confrontational when I'm doming, and just the confidence. Like you have to be very, very confident. So I feel like it's an alter ego.
Okay.
In a way, but now that I've been doing it for so long, they've kind of blended together.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. And like when I first was just at the dungeon for the first year, it was very easy to like kind of separate who I am in my everyday life from my doming persona, because I was doing it in a certain place and it was like time limited. So like I'm stepping into this persona when I walk into this room, and I'm stepping out of the room and being myself.
Right.
But now that I do OnlyFans, I talk about it on TikTok. That's why I feel like my regular persona and like my dom persona have blended more together, because there's less like I have to be it more now.
Yeah.
I have to be this persona like more.
I think like the more I learned about kink dynamics and the more I learned about doming, the more I also like stopped making excuses for myself and other people in my personal life. So like when I was learning a lot about being able to tell somebody like, this is what I want for you. Like I know this is what you want, and I'm going to help you get there, but you got to do the work.
Yeah.
And like that is something that's so powerful. And a lot of people I think don't realize like that's a big part. Like you're not just like being a bitch. You're not just being mean. You're literally like harnessing power and kind of giving it in like little bite-sized pieces. And I think that's something that people could definitely benefit from in their personal lives. And I've seen like people kind of blossom when they realize like they're more into this in their sex life, just as like a communication exercise, just saying up front, like, this is what I want from you. Not like, I would like to feel this way. It's like, no, I want this from you, and I'm going to help you do it.
Yeah.
And like, I want this for you because I can feel like this isn't happening for you. How do we get there?
Yeah.
And it kind of bleeds into my personal life where I'm like, I don't need to be polite all the time, especially in the face of someone attempting to dominate me.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no, we can go toe to toe. Like, you know what I mean? And I feel like that's something that people are afraid of. I think people are afraid of power in their personal lives, their sex lives. And what do you say to people that are just like, oh, like this sounds so exciting, but like I'm afraid of who I'll be?
I would say it's not that dramatic.
Yeah.
Like being a dom is not about being a bitch.
Right.
Like sometimes, you know,
You can be bitchy.
Yeah. No, sometimes I am a bitch.
Yeah.
But it's not.
That's not the whole thing.
No, that's not the whole thing. That's not how you be powerful. Like, it's not just being mean and standoffish. Sometimes I'm very, very nice, but I'm still in control, you know? And it doesn't have to look any certain type of way. Like, that's what I would say to people when they're curious about exploring BDSM in their personal life and curious about being dominant. Like, you don't have to, you can act however you want. Like, that's the point. That's how you're a dom.
Yeah.
You do whatever you want and you act however you want. If you're doing something you don't want to do, then you're not doing it right. Because that's not being a dom.
You don't have to wear pleasers and a corset. You can literally do this in your tennis shoes. Like you can do this. Like, I think that there's also so many different fantasies to play with for people, where it's like you can be the girl next door. You can, you know, I think people have this idea of like chains and whips, and that's a part of it. It's a huge part of like BDSM. But I wish people had the courage to play with like dynamics that were safer to them or like more personal. Like I remember one time I was hooking up with this guy, and I could tell he was more submissive than like, you know, you get that like vibe where they're like telling you like thank you and like stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, here we go.
Did I just hear you say mommy? Like,
she is here. You know? And I just remember him telling me earlier that I looked like some like celebrity or something he had a crush on when he was really young. And I was like, I think that's kind of what's going on too, where it's like you could never have her. And look, you still can't have her. Like, do you know what I mean? Or like you're going to have to work for it. Sometimes people get really turned on, but they kind of like back away because they're like, oh, like, I don't know. Like, that's not what I'm supposed to do. Like, I have to be agreeable.
I had this guy messaging me the other day asking questions about how to do like cuck stuff with his wife or fiance. I don't remember. He's like, how do I bring it up to her? And, you know, we're kind of talking, and I'm like, what do you want? Like, what do you want it to look like? And how do you envision the conversation going? Have you ever spoken about it? You know, I'm trying to get a feel.
And this is a sex coaching client? Or is like a person you just kind of know?
Well, neither. Like someone, so on my social media, I have like a tribute. And then when they pay a tribute, they can message me. And usually it's guys who like want me to dominate them. But because I'm also a sex coach, like sometimes there's a mix.
Okay.
So he was just asking questions. Right. But he's like, I think I'm gonna tell it to her as a joke. Like, oh, what do you think if you fucked another guy in front of me and see how she reacts?
That'd be crazy,
and
right?
I was like, listen, you can do that. And honestly, I don't think it's a terrible idea to feel it out in that way. But I was trying to push him to be more vulnerable and honest and with his desires. You know, I think a lot of guys are so afraid of what they like and they're afraid to be submissive. So they, like you said, you know, the guy you had hooked up with wasn't outwardly telling you he was into this. They try to drop little feelers.
Crumbs. Yeah.
Even in my sessions, when people are coming and they're saying they like a certain thing, they still are not. Sometimes, you know, they spill all of their tea. But a lot of the time, they're dropping little breadcrumbs and I still have to figure it out too. So sometimes it's like for the fun of it.
Right.
But other times it's because they're ashamed or they don't know how the girl is going to react. So they want to subtly give clues. And it causes problems because I'm good at this. Like, this is my job. So I pick up like what they're putting down. But your wife might not ever pick it up. Like, if you don't explicitly tell her, she's not a magician. She's not
a psychic.
Pro dom.
She's like, not the Long Island medium. She's not like, up in our brains.
Yeah, like there's a point where a lot of people, if you're in a relationship, you have to explicitly say what you want because years go by and it hasn't happened for you, and it's kind of your fault for not. You know, you're trying to get her to guess.
Because you mentioned cucking.
Yeah.
I was literally thinking about this yesterday. So somebody asked me about like threesome stuff because they were using the term like MMF and MFM and FFM. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ on the cross. Like, can we get rid of these abbreviations? Like, please. And I was like thinking about it and I was like, there's so rarely that scenario for women where they're like, they want to be cucked or like they use that term.
Yeah.
But like we use that term, and I say we, like the royal we, like we as a society. I feel like we use that term so loosely. For example, like somebody being like, oh, you're pussy whipped, or like you're such a cuck if like your girlfriend or whatever is like going out to dinner with like a male coworker at a work event. It's like, why you're gonna let her do that? And I'm like, that's so crazy because we don't have that verbiage for women. I feel like, is there like a word for cucking for like women, or is it just having a threesome? Like, do you know what I mean?
Well, there is a word.
Okay,
but it's not like the royal we are using it. Like, I think it's interesting because what you said, like cucking is a kink, and but then there's also like the social part of it where it stems into real life, and you're using that word to describe like a girl going out to dinner with her male coworker, and that's not cucking. But so I don't see it like that societally, for women who are cucks. But there is a word like in the bedroom for it, which is a cuck queen.
A cuck queen.
A cuck queen.
I love that.
Yeah, that's like a girl who would watch her male partner. I mean, I guess it could be any gender.
I feel like that already like has an annotation though that like she's more in control of the situation, as opposed to like being a cuck. It's like you're like a little submissive cuck. Like, look, you're letting this happen to you, kind of thing. Where it's like a cuck queen. She got like a little promotion. She got a little upgrade.
That's true. I never thought about that. I mean, any kink can look different for any person.
Yeah.
I've had guys reach out to me about cucking, and some of them want to be like super submissive and humiliated about it and degraded. And then others, like, they don't want to.
It's more like hot wifing.
Yeah.
That term, where it's like they just want to watch, but they don't want to feel that bad about it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there are a lot of different ways to do it, and it's never really like the action of what you're doing, in my opinion. It's more like the power dynamic that you're doing whatever it is with.
Got you.
Yeah, but cuck queen.
Cuck queen. I love that. I don't know. I get so many questions about threesomes all the time. Like it is the topic all the time. And like right after Challengers came out, all of a sudden it changed a little bit from like, oh, I want like to basically like recruit another woman in my marriage, and just being like, so how can I convince this is always the word, convince. How can I convince my boyfriend or my husband to do this with a guy?
Yeah.
Because it's like he's totally fine with it with another girl, but like he doesn't want to be cucked. I'm like,
but you don't have to be cucked.
No.
Yeah.
You don't. And also, why are you not feeling cucked when there's another woman?
Right.
The sociologists are coming out today. Let me tell you.
I know. It's difficult. I get a lot of people asking me about that too, where they're like, I want to do this and my partner doesn't.
Right.
Where do we go from here? And it's hard because you have to really like negotiate and compromise. It's totally valid if your partner doesn't want to have a threesome with someone of a certain gender. But then is there an unfair like double standard where you're doing things that they want and you don't necessarily really want to, but like you're doing it for them, and then they won't do that for you? Yeah,
totally. I think, I don't know, that's something that always happens though with people where they're like, how do I convince? How do I ask? And I'm like, well, have you tried asking?
And they're like, no.
Like you're not going to trick someone into doing the thing that you want. And if you are, you're like being a little coercive.
Yeah.
Is that a hot take? I don't know.
No, it's true.
Yeah. And I mean, like we see it all the time, like just being like vocal, sex positive people like on the internet, you know. I think people try to kind of twist our arm into like doing something kinky without like, they're like, oh, they won't pick up on this. And I'm like, we pick up on it. Like we know.
Yeah.
It's like, am I a bad boy for wanting this? And it's like,
I hate the deceitfulness. Actually, like, this TikToker, I don't really even know like if she posts too much or whatever, but she had recently posted a video of her like child who, I don't know if she was like talking about like diaper change or whatever. And then a lot of the comments were like moms. And then I saw this comment and it was like, oh, my son struggles to go potty in this way, and could you give me advice? But like the way that it was written was really weird, and the account didn't look like it was someone's mom. It looked like it was, I mean, perhaps a pedophile or just like, it was not a mom asking advice, but it was like deceitful. Like this person was trying to get aroused, and the TikToker didn't know that, obviously, because she doesn't know like you and I, we get questions like that all the time where people are trying to be deceitful and they're trying to ask something in a way where, you know, like
even if it's like someone asking me like a genuine question about their own sex life, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I'm sure you're really good at that in your own life.
Yes, like that vibe.
Yeah.
Where they're, how do I ask my partner to do this to me? And then you tell them, and then like they're fucking jerking off to your answer. So anyway, she like she makes another video responding to this person's comment, like giving genuine advice that you would give to an actual parent who is asking this question. And I messaged her and was like, I have been doing this long enough. Like, I don't think that was a genuine question.
Yeah.
And I think you really, really need to be careful with the stuff you're saying about that particular topic online, because that was not a mother or a father.
Yeah. And I think in general,
we see through that.
Right. We see through it. Because also, like, we kind of put a magnifying glass to like everything that kind of comes our way, just because people will take advantage of our generosity and our wanting to educate people. And especially for like people that are new to kind of the sex industry in general, whether you're a coach or an educator, there's going to be people that will try to take advantage of it. And there's also going to be like people that are going to assume that they're being so masterful that you won't pick up on it. When I worked at a sex toy store, men would sometimes come in and be like, I'm looking for something for my girlfriend. They would be like asking in like a genuine way, like, okay, so if you had to pick between these two, like which one would you take?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's different. But if they're like, so like, which one's your favorite to use? That's the wording where I'm like, the Kill Bill sirens go off in my head. And I'm like, oh, now I'm going to be mean to you. You know what I mean?
Like just be transparent.
Right.
Be straightforward. I can't stand the deceitfulness.
It's
with
so
that.
weird. Yeah. So we got some great listener questions.
Yes.
I'm so excited. I had these. So 2 of these I had come in like early on, and I saved them because I was like, I know I'm going to have Mistress Lauren on at some point. And if we don't get to all of them, we will finish it up in the bonus episode if we bleed over a little bit.
This week, I kept the mic rolling with Mistress Lauren for another whole hour, and we shared some wild stories and answered very intimate listener questions. You don't want to miss it. Head to beyondbedroompodcast.com for weekly updates, full-length bonus episodes, and behind-the-scenes content you won't find anywhere else. That's beyondbedroompodcast.com.
One of my lovely listeners really is into prostate play and might have something in common with you in terms of it comes very naturally and easy to him to be more dominant. So he sent this in. He said, I recently discovered that I love getting my prostate touched. Okay, go
Slay.
off. I wanted something more than a finger, so my girlfriend and I started using a dildo, which of course led to getting pegged, as you do. I love everything about it except how much it changed our dynamic. I'm usually a lot more dominant while she submits to me. How can I get pegged while maintaining this dynamic?
Yeah.
Well, lovely listener. It's really interesting because we don't see it often in this dynamic. We see this kind of happen a lot with gay men or kind of bottoming from the top type of stuff. But what would you suggest?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that it's really never about the act that you're doing. It's about the way that you do it and the power that you each hold when you're doing it. Like, you can be pegged and still be the one who's in power, power bottom.
Power bottom.
So I think it really is a lot about like the verbiage that you use, the dirty talk. If you're doing any type of role play, you can use that to your advantage to, make it feel like you're still the one who is in charge. Maybe it's a certain position too. Like maybe there's a certain position where you feel like is more, I don't know, comfortable, masculine, powerful, whatever, to get pegged in. And you prefer that position. Like you can explore with it,
I would even say like you can control her movements and her rhythm.
Yeah.
Like you can tell her when to put it in and when, and like you can even move her around.
Yeah.
Right.
And you could be the one still saying while she's doing it, like, you're being such a good girl fucking me like that.
Right.
You're being so good doing this to me. Like using that tone instead of her saying that stuff to you, which is what I do with my clients, right? But like you can still make it feel like you are in charge and you're still dominant, even with pegging or with any activity.
Right. He can also borrow a lot from like femdom.
Yeah.
Where it's like you might be getting penetrated by someone, but like you're in control of how that's going and like what's happening. They're like yearning for more, like always. I think like the yearning aspect of this, it's like how bad does she want to get you off? Like, you can also withhold that too.
Yeah.
It's like, are you going to fuck me enough that I come? Like, are you going to try? Like, that kind of thing too, where it's like, ooh, like you can play around also with like withholding your orgasm for the sake of like making her work for it. I think that's kind of fun.
There's so many fun ways to go about it. Like, and I had made a TikTok video about power bottoming for straight couples. And the comments were definitely a mix. Like a lot of the comments were saying, yes, absolutely, you can be penetrated and still be the dominant person. And then some of the comments were like, debating that, saying, no, you can't. I really think like it doesn't matter what you're doing, and you just have to figure out what is going to make you feel powerful. Like you're being pegged, but is there a certain way in which you can go about it? Things you could say, positions you could be in, even the toy that you're using. Maybe you feel like, I don't like to use this type of dildo or this color or this shape because that makes me feel like I'm not the one in power, but I'm down for this type. Like you make decisions about how to stay powerful.
I think like a toy that could really work here is the strapless strap-on, where like she has it like inside of her, because she has to kind of work to keep it in there too.
And it's pleasuring her too.
Oh, you know what I just thought of too? She could even, if this is something that they do, they could incorporate even like some bondage where she's in bondage and he's like fucking her,
like fucking himself on her.
Yeah, like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like even like under mattress cuffs, she almost has to like let it happen. Type of thing. I think that could be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trying to like picture.
I would say like probably a dildo that doesn't look so much like a dick. Like that's usually what I'll see from guys who are into anal, but they're straight or straight and they want like one that doesn't really look like a dick or that looks just more like a toy. That can make you feel like less like you're submitting to it and more just like you're getting pleased by it, like you're enjoying it.
I think because a lot of people think like anal is like inherently submissive, which I get because like it's very vulnerable to like let something up there, you know, for anybody. There's something you were like, it doesn't matter, like the act. Like you can, it's the dynamic kind of thing.
But that's so true. We have like this view that penetration, like taking penetration ultimately makes you the submissive person. And do you know the word for like, he's penetrating you, but what is your pussy doing? It's like enclosure or like.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Oh, I don't remember what the word is, but like when you're the one taking it, like there's a word for that. So the opposite of penetration. And if we just give that word like equal power to the word penetration.
Because you're letting
like,
someone
reframe
in.
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think people forget that. You're letting someone into your body. When people ditch the like escalator in terms of like first we kiss, then we do hand stuff, and then, you know, you're allowed to play around with like, what are you letting happen? I think when people start to learn about domination in terms of like wielding power, it's actually not as much about how much power you have over someone else. It's like how much of your own power are you harnessing and like kind of opening and closing. Which can be really emotional for people, I think, to learn. Especially people that have like been victimized before. Like they're just like, whoa, like I'm actually more in control of myself than I think I am. Right?
Yeah. And it's so much unlearning of societal norms and like the heteronormative sex script. And what you said, like there's not levels. There's not 4 bases.
Right.
There's not like rankings of things in bed, or there is societally, but there doesn't have to be. And it's like pushing past that. And it can be very emotional.
I would even suggest for this, our lovely listener here, the guy who loves pegging, what would happen if you put the dynamic on the back burner for a little bit? I think the reason why like a lot of women are better doms. Oh, this one's gonna get me heat. In my personal experience, this is a very just my opinion type thing. This is not a fact, okay? I think the reason why a lot of women can be better doms is because they come from a place of subverting the dynamic that they're told to like always be agreeable, always to let things happen to you, to kind of like your own pleasure takes a back seat, stuff like we grow up learning. Even if it's not inherently expressed to us, like a lot of the time we just kind of take it in. And I think that straight male doms, they become better doms when they practice that. Like I hear even men talk about, and this is not about submission domination, but I hear people talk about like, oh, I got better at penetrating my partner after I got penetrated.
Switching makes you better. Switching makes you better. Like I learned how to do wax play by getting wax play done to me. Like I had done ice play on my clients, and then I had someone do ice play to me, and I was like, whoa, wait, what the fuck? This is what it feels like? Like, wait, I've been doing this all wrong. Like you learn by switching. You learn by being in both roles.
Like some people like genuinely get turned off when they're not dominant, but it's like even if you just kind of put it into like a neutral gear, like neither one is in power for a bit. Like how does that feel? Maybe you can get rid of the notion that like just because like I'm being topped right now, I'm being submissive? Like, what if it's like a mutual exchange? Like, there's giving and receiving and giving kind of thing.
Yeah, I think this lovely listener just needs to give themselves permission to accept what you like.
Yes.
And to accept that it doesn't have to be like a dominant or submissive position. You can just do this.
Yeah.
And it can be neutral,
And
like you
like,
said.
try that. And then if you want that dynamic back, like, then you can do so.
Yeah.
You know, you can play with that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I just, but maybe I'm just a little more gay than I think I am, because I'm always like, women are just better, But anyway, it just doesn't compare for me. For me. Okay, so next question. So this is a girl who follows me. She's 27.
Okay.
And kind of like a little backstory, because I think it's important. She didn't grow up like super religious, but she grew up in kind of more conservative environment. And I think that that's kind of contributing to what's going on. So she says, I want to learn how to enjoy telling someone what to do and letting them do it. So she has no problem like telling someone, but it's like when they start doing it, she kind of starts feeling bad. She said, my issue is I always feel intense guilt or embarrassment when people do things for me. For example, when I got a pedicure for the first time, I felt so bad. Someone was washing and caring for my feet, something that I could do at home. I have a hard time even saying things like, get on your knees. How do I get past this? Because the idea of that really turns me on. But in reality, I feel so small and embarrassed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not uncommon.
No.
Right? But
she needs to come work with me because I felt all of those ways. Like, I really relate to that question because I struggled to like relax and enjoy when things are being done to me, even like getting a pedicure. Like, I've definitely felt that way in my life.
Yeah.
And the way that I got past it was literally being like, obviously I wasn't forced to do my job, but like once I took the job, I kind of had to be confident. Like, there was no way about it. Like, I just had to accept that like these people were going to be worshiping me and get comfortable with it. And like, then I, like sink or swim, you just put yourself in that position.
Oh yeah.
Like, know. She just needs, like, she doesn't need to be a dominatrix. No. Like, she just needs to try it and it's like sit in the uncomfortability of it, because that's how you're going to push past it.
Yeah. I grew up in a very similar environment to her. Like, we're right by the city, but it's real conservative up north. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's hard sometimes to get rid of what you think is just a part of your personality, because then you kind of look at it and you're like, oh, like, this is actually not serving me.
Yeah.
So I would take a good look at it too and be like, who benefits from me acting like this?
Yeah.
And if it's not you, then it's maybe time to change that, right?
It's also like the people pleaser mindset. And it's hard to accept that like someone else wants to do something for you. Like, you feel like you're always the one that needs to be pleasing them.
Right.
But like I've heard this a lot with girls with oral sex. So they're like, I can't enjoy oral because I'm taking too long, or my partner doesn't like doing it, or like it's hard for them to, relax and enjoy being pleased.
Yeah.
But I think thinking from that person's perspective and thinking like they want to be doing this to me.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of will help you accept it too. Like, allowing yourself to feel pleasure and acknowledging that other people want to give you pleasure.
And like, you don't have to be responsible for everything all the time.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge one. I think people sometimes feel like they have to always, like you said, people pleasing, but it's like they also have to be like very in control of everything happening. And it's like, it's really hard to feel pleasure if you're trying to control like every element about it.
If you know me, you know that Unbound has been one of my favorite brands for years now, and you get a discount and support the show if you use code bbirna at checkout. My personal favorites are Ollie, a strong, waterproof, incredible wand that does not leave my nightstand drawer, Puff, a pinpoint suction toy, and of course, Pogo. We're talking about pegging in this episode, so I have to give a shout out to the perfect addition to your strap-on. They make vibes, lubes, and so much more. So go check them out and tell them I sent you. That's bbirna, BBIRNA at unboundbabes.com.
It's interesting you say that about like oral sex. I hear that a lot. And when I was making content for Laurel's, the dental dam wearable underwear latex company, which a lot of people use in kink, like it's really great
for like splashing.
Yeah,
right?
and like just like in general, like they like wearing it for like the snapping and like the latex aspect of it. But anyway, I noticed that a lot of people were saying like they used it and then like because they just felt like they needed a barrier because they couldn't control like how they smelled or how they tasted. And then they were able to like enjoy it, and then like slowly but surely they were able to like take it off.
Yes.
And I thought that was really interesting because sometimes like we just kind of need like a little bit of like a barrier in order to let go.
A little help.
A little help.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really, but you can't be in control of everything all the time. Even someone who like you're in control of the dynamic when you're in a session, like you can't be in control of everything.
No.
And that's not your job.
No. And then you can't really enjoy.
And there is a lot of joy and pleasure in what you do.
Yeah.
You're not just showing up because you're like, oh, I hate men and I get off on it.
Yeah, no.
You're showing up because you're like, oh, like I'm good at this. And it feels good to be good at something.
It does feel good to be good at something. And like I love men. I think it's so fun to play with them in this way and to like provide a space where they can try new things and explore things that they feel like they're not allowed to, they shouldn't be. And it's just like fun to play.
It is fun to play. That's the perfect, like, it is fun to play. I think people forget, they get so in their heads. They're like, how do I do this? How do I do this? I'm like, are you having fun?
Yeah.
Are you having a good time? Like, are you enjoying what you're doing? I mean, that's even just like getting a pedicure, like, sometimes it's like maintenance, you know what I mean? Are you enjoying just like taking a moment and like just reading a magazine for the first time in like years, like an old magazine from like 2015 that's been there, like, you know what I mean? Where it's like, I don't have to be on my phone right now. Like no one's talking to me. No one's doing anything. You don't even have to enjoy the foot massage. You can just enjoy like right now I'm paying to do something for myself. And so that's it, you know?
Yeah.
And in bed, it's like, I'm supposed to be having fun right now.
Yeah.
Like just, it's okay, like, if it's scary, as long as you're just kind of following what feels good.
Yeah.
I think. But there's another question, but I think we should answer it in like a short little bonus episode if you want to stay for a bonus.
Also, what popped into my head.
Yeah.
What did you write down in your notes app when we were getting coffee the other day? You were like, don't tell me about this.
Oh my God,
I want to talk about this.
Hold on.
Was it?
I can find it. It was something, I want to say it was something about football, but it wasn't.
Oh my God. It was about the football fantasy guy.
Wait. Should we share the story just like in the bonus?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Okay. Like, okay. So she wanted to tell me this. Okay, for my listeners,
the other day.
we were getting coffee the other day. By the way, we sat there for like 3 hours just chatting. I was also having like dizzy spells that day, so I was like
about to pass.
I was about to pass out,
like...
and then I felt better, and we started talking about dominating men. That's usually the cure for everything. I feel.
Yeah, it is.
But like, she was about to tell me a story, and then she goes, "No, wait." I want to say that, like, I'm going to save this one for the pod. And I was like, I love that. So if you want to hear the football fantasy guy, do you want to give them a little teaser of what that is?
That's the teaser.
That's the teaser.
That's the teaser. Football fantasy.
Well, head over to the bonus. And if you don't know where to find the bonus, go to beyondbedroom.org. And again, everybody say thank you, Mistress Lauren, for coming on. Where can they find you?
You can find me on TikTok and Twitter at CherryBB333.
She'll be linked in the show notes, everything on this episode and on beyondthebedroom.org.
Thank you.
Also, like, what do you want to plug? Like, do you want people to contact you for anything? Are you like, I'm good, I don't need any coaching clients?
I'm like a bit of a gatekeeper, low-key, with it.
That's good.
But to anyone listening who's interested in what I do, follow me on social media.
Yep.
Reach out. And if you reach out in the right way, fully I gatekeep. Like, you may message me. I may answer. I may not. It depends what you do. And I'm not going to share how. You just need to know.
Right. If you know, you know.
Exactly.
Okay,
if you know, you know.
Stick around for the bonus. And thanks for listening to. And thank you for watching the first video episode of Beyond the Bedroom.